Happy Spoopy-ween! It's candy day! Yay! Candy! Whew! It's Halloween! Yeah, I filmed this exactly the same day I filmed the last videos, so I still haven't slept. But it's the day, today's the day that this person requested that I do a pumpkin carving video, so I thought, you know what, that's a good idea, because that's art. Sort of. So I went out and got a pumpkin, and I'm making a pumpkin. I'm carving a pumpkin, and you know what? I am terrible at carving pumpkins. Never been able to do a good pumpkin. So I went online, and I looked at some tutorials and some tips and tricks that other people were using to make good pumpkins. And then I applied that to my artsy skill to see if I could do it too. So I wanted to do something that was familiar to me, that had nice, easy curves that were easy to do, redundancy, but also enough detail that I could challenge myself with the detail. Redundancy. So because I'm full of self-love and didn't have the confidence to destroy anybody else's work, I decided to make my own logo in a pumpkin. That way if it messed up, it's fine. It's not a disgrace to anybody. So what I did was I made this outline on Photoshop just to show myself where certain parts of the pumpkin was going to be. After watching some tutorials, I realized that you don't always have to cut all the way through the pumpkin. You can just carve parts of it, and the deeper down it goes, the lighter the color will be, the more light will shine through, and the thicker it is and the more layers that are on it, the darker that area will be. So I chose the dark orange areas to be the darkest colors, and the lightest colors to have the most shaved off, and the medium colors in between. So because I don't have a printer, I put a piece of paper onto my screen and traced over that thingy, which I don't recommend that you do unless you really have to, because you can kind of mess with the screen. Like, it's not gonna kill it, it's just not good for it to trace on the screen. But if you have to, I did it. So I mean, like, if you need to. Then I just took that and taped it on my pumpkin in a way that fit around it, and that's when I started filming. What? So what I'm doing here is I'm actually just taking that little puncture tool from the pumpkin carving kit that I got. Really simple pumpkin carving kit I got from Walgreens. It's really simple. And all I did was take that and just poke holes around the design so that I had this nice outline of holes around the pumpkin to show me where the design was supposed to be. Then after that, I scored the edge on the outside of where the design was going to be, because around the letters of my logo is where the darkest parts are going to be. So I want to carve on the outside. So I took the saw and started carving the outside. I ended up getting a few letters that actually looked pretty decent. Every once in a while I would turn the lights out to see what it looked like in the dark, but for the most part, pretty much all of the pumpkin was basically just doing this, taking the saw, pointing it away from the letters and curving it around, and it basically is just the width of the saw that just curves around each of the letters, kind of making a big stroke around the whole thing. And I do that around the cloud shape of my logo as well. And then turning out the lights, you can see all of the little imperfections that you wouldn't be able to see with the light. And in this light, you can even see the little holes poked through, which is a good way to show you exactly what needs to be done. Like on the really small detailed parts, you really gotta put a lot of holes to make sure you're not confused. Here's a good shot of me scoring around the outside of the dots. It might be hard to see, but I'm just lightly scoring with an X-Acto knife around the outside of these letters to make it easier to scoop in with that saw like I'm doing now. Make sure that it's easier to get in there. Now at this point I wanted to show you exactly how long it took me to carve around the W in real time. This is exactly how long it took me to do that. This is how rough it looks. This is exactly what happened. I don't know how many more times I can repeat myself. But you can see from this angle how having the saw pointed away from the letters kind of gives it this cool little divot where the teeth of the saw kind of push into the side, which I thought was like a really cool extra touch. And because I was carving a stroke that was the width of the saw, I didn't have to do any measuring, and everything came out even like I needed it to be, because it was just the width of the saw. So I just dragged the saw, and oh, there it is. Some parts that I didn't score were a little harder to get into. You can see me trying to dig into this part here because I didn't score it very well, kind of cleaning it up. And it's good to note that at this point I'm turning the pumpkin around. It's on my lap so I can get a good visual of the whole thing. Turning it around just like you turn your paper, depending on like the curve of your arm and how you need, you know, to be angled for these things. Just like that, but a pumpkin. So now I'm going on to the cloud shape, doing exactly what I did before with the letters, but just with the cloud. So this part was a lot easier. I didn't have to go into those little nooks and crannies. I just had to go through just a nice little curve, or actually 4. And I did this part in the dark just so I could see exactly where everything was, because I didn't have to worry about any fine details, so I didn't really need the light to see what I was doing. But up until this point, aside from poking the holes from the design in the beginning and just lightly scoring scoring with my X-Acto knife, which is optional. The only tool I've used is just this small little saw, just using the tip of it. That's really all I've done. And because I poked the holes of the design in the pumpkin in the beginning, I know exactly where everything's supposed to go before I even do anything. So I'm basically just tracing the holes that are on the pumpkin. With the inside of the cloud, the first layer, since there are 2 layers to my Mr. Cloudy logo, the second one in the inside, I made sure to point the saw in the opposite direction that I was doing before, just because I feel like it made the cloud itself a little sturdier looking, a little cleaner looking. I don't know if that makes any sense. I just turned it around. Then I cut out where the eyes and the mouth was, just as deep as I did before. And then came the interesting part. I have a wood whittling kit where I make some Harry Potter wands just for fun. I just like whittle and make wands and it's pretty. So I'm like, if I have this wood whittling thing, I wonder if I could carve the pumpkin with it. So I tried and it worked, sort of. So it's not really that even. It's not really 4 pumpkins. But I was able to get that first initial layer, and you can see the more I take off, the lighter that part of the pumpkin gets. And I made sure to do this part in the dark too so that I could see exactly how light it was getting. Then after I did that, I just took that saw again and kind of just like, I don't know how, it's kind of like scoring, but it just like, around the whole thing. Just, I don't know what I'm saying. I don't know how to describe that. I just kind of, you know, just to like, to like even it out, but not even it out. Like, so you can't see like all of those extra little knife marks. Textured? I don't know. And that helped me get those extra layers off, but also even out parts where some parts were a little bit thicker. And then I did that same thing, but without the carving knife on the top portion of the cloud, just to make it a little lighter than the original pumpkin is. So with it all together, it looks like this. And yes, I understand my camera is horrible in low light settings. This was the best I could do. I tried to make sure I got the light from a few different angles so you guys could see the whole thing. And this is what it looks like in the light. It's less impressive, but that's my first successful pumpkin ever. And in fact, I can link the tutorials that I watched in the description because that is what I used to make sure I got all these extra tips that I somehow never knew before. But really, after just doing it and not having to cut all the way through the pumpkin and risk chopping bits of my picture, it really helped. It really made the whole thing seem a lot safer because I never cut through the pumpkin. I was just carving off little bits at a time from the top. Just thinning it out. Just thinning it out so more light can come through. And honestly, I think that's the secret to pumpkin carving when you want to do something that's detailed but you don't want to risk chopping bits off. I think this was the thing that I was missing. It's just that one simple, don't cut all the way through. So if I could give you one super helpful tip, it would be that. You don't have to cut all the way through the pumpkin to make a cool looking pumpkin. Also, don't carve with the paper on the pumpkin. Do the dot thing. Just puncture it so you can see the holes afterwards, because if you carve it with the paper on it, it can move around, and that can make it a lot harder to actually get it to look accurate to the picture. And I've seen people do that, so I just don't do that. Just use the whole pokey thing. If it's a little hard to carve like it was for me, you can score certain areas that you know you're just going to scrape and dig through to make little areas that are lighter. And aside from that, really it's just your creativity and what you think looks good. But I hope you guys enjoyed seeing me try to carve this pumpkin. I actually succeeded, and I could probably do a lot better, but honestly, I'm so surprised at how this turned out because I'm not kidding. I don't have examples to show you, but just take my word for it, I was really bad at pumpkins. I think I've only ever actually done like 2 or 3 pumpkins in my life. Last year I tried to do Sally from The Nightmare Before Christmas. Half of her face, it didn't make it, okay? So I'm just super proud of this, and I can't believe that I was able to improve this much in just one day, just from watching a few tutorials. So hopefully this can help you guys improve your pumpkin carving too. But if you're new here, I do digital art videos where I draw cartoon characters in my own style. Sometimes I'll do a series called Bagag where I draw bad guys as good guys, or just in ironically good situations. So make sure to check out those. I pretty much draw whatever as long as it's family friendly. So if you like what you're seeing, you like my energy and oddness, whatever this is, then hit the subscribe button and join the Cloudy Club, and we can all eat candy together, metaphorically, because internet, but nom, anyway, yay. I'm gonna watch these videos back like 10 years from now and think, why did I intentionally put things on the internet knowing that I was that awkward? Right now I'm like, well, it's just more real, right, if you're awkward? But at the same time, I'm just like, why? Ugh. Literally running on no sleep. I am tired, and things are glowing going blurry. They're going blurry. Whew. It's time for me to turn off the camera so that I don't die, 'cause I need to sleep and it's real late and now I'm singing too loud. Look at those mixy ears. Oh yeah, look at that. Who's that? I'm an elf. How are you? My elf name is Pandel. P-A-N-D-E-L-L-E. You know, like Michelle, but Pandel. So it's like half of... So if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up so that I know you did. And if you're wondering what I'm doing in between videos, you can follow me on Twitter. That is where I'm the most active. But I have a list of other social media down in the description below. As always, thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you in the next one. Okay, bye! This is Halloween, pumpkins scream in the dead of night. This is Halloween, everybody make a scene, trick or treat till the neighbors gonna die of fright. It's our town, everybody scream in our town of Halloween.